Welcome back to the channel, and welcome to another Missing Stations video. The Elizabeth line has been a huge success for transportation in London since it opened in 2022, and now is the busiest railway line in the UK in terms of passenger numbers. Expansions are still being discussed to this line, like an extension to Dartford and Ebbsfleet. However, one very forgotten and obscure plan was for a new Ladbroke Grove Crossrail station in West London. So I wanted to discuss the plans for this station and why they have gone so quiet. Now at the moment, there is a very long gap between Paddington and the next station at Acton Mainline, with no stations in between, a distance of around 7 kilometers or 4.3 miles. This gap is being partially filled with the massive Older Common station, intended to unlock regeneration for the Older Common, Acton and Park Royal areas, with 25,000 new homes being planned. However, this station I will talk about would serve another area earmarked for regeneration. The plans for this station began in the mid to late 2000s, when the Kensal Canalside area was designated as an official opportunity area, and was widely supported by the Royal Borough of Kensington and Chelsea. The close proximity to the new Crossrail project made the borough strongly consider the possibility of a new station to serve the developments, but this wasn't included in the Crossrail Act. The proposal for a new station was quietly shelved in 2013 by the Department for Transport and Transport for London, as they stated that the station planned for the Kensal Canalside area would be too close to Older Common Station, and also because of an earlier statement that it shouldn't interfere with the secured costs for the rest of the Crossrail project. There was a brief revival of the plans in 2016, but this didn't go anywhere either. And now in 2026, the plans for a station are extremely quiet, despite the redevelopment of the Kensal Canalside being approved in November 2025. So now let's discuss what this development would bring. The Kensal Canalside development would consist of multiple high-rise towers, which would include 3,500 new homes, 500 of which would be classed as affordable, and the creation of over 2,000 new jobs. Other features would include a new Sainsbury's superstore with underground parking to replace the current one with surface-level car parking, 8.5 acres of public parkland, and a completely restored historic canal basin for the Grand Union Canal. So the case for a new station is already looking promising, just from the amount of new homes being planned. The plans for the development would rightfully safeguard the site for a new Elizabeth line station. However, the argument that TfL have claimed that this station would be too close to Older Common is a little hard to believe. The proposed station would be around 2 kilometers from Older Common, if we took that station into account, or 3.7 kilometers from Acton Mainline. Note that these are rail distances, not walking. Those distances are perfectly acceptable for a high-frequency commuter rail route running in an inner suburban environment. If we compare this to Brent Cross West, which opened at the end of 2023, there were rumours that the nearby Cricklewood station would close because A. its inability to take 12-car trains, and B. its close proximity to Brent Cross West. The interstation spacings here are much shorter than west of Paddington, with 1.4 kilometers from Brent Cross West to Cricklewood and almost 1.6 kilometers to Hendon. So immediately the claim that TfL have made is extremely weak, because like this new Elizabeth line station, Brent Cross West will serve a redevelopment of its own, and the fact that Cricklewood and Hendon may get their own redevelopments as part of the West London orbital. So this proposed Elizabeth line station for the Kensal Canalside has a strong case, due to its distance from neighbouring stations on the Great Western Main Line, which includes the future Older Common. However, this area being in Zone 2 means it would be located in an area with a high density of stations. These include Ladbroke Grove on the Hammersmith and City line and Kensal Green on the Bakerloo line. Both of these stations are around a 17-minute walk from the opportunity area this Elizabeth Line station would serve, making both stations less than ideal for a sufficient transport connection to the area. Additionally, both Ladbroke Grove and Kensal Green are very small stations, with little to no accessibility, and unable to handle large numbers of people who would live in the Kensal Canalside area, not to mention the increase in passengers for the Notting Hill Carnival or the Portobello Road Market. So this strengthens the case for putting an Elizabeth Line station at the Kensal Canalside, as it would a. give the Kensal Canalside residents a much shorter walk to their nearest station, and b. reduce pressure on the Hammersmith and City Line to the Notting Hill area. But there is also the argument that a station would already strain the Elizabeth Line and make it even busier, considering that this is the busiest railway in the UK. But this depends on where people are going and the services that they would use for a fast journey. And with the opening of Older Common expected in the next few years, I think this station would act as a starting point for people who need to change at Older Common rather than backtracking to Paddington, considering that most GWR services would stop at Older Common, and the Elizabeth Line service being expanded there. However, if someone said that putting a new station here was too close to the nearby tube stations, the catchment area of this station would be overshadowed by the other tube stations. Just like with Clerkenwell, I have drawn the areas around the stations with a radius of 750 meters, and the proposed station's circle is in white. If the circles overlap, the people living in that area would have a multiple choice of stations to visit. Note that I am taking the future Older Common station into account as well, so its circle is in purple. Only showing the proposed station's catchment area, it would look like this, highlighted in green. Unlike Clerkenwell, this catchment area is decently sized, which this station would only serve. The station wouldn't just serve the people in the Kensal Canalside development, although it's worth noting that the development does overlap with Kensal Green's area, but the people living there would prefer the Elizabeth Line due to its accessibility and faster journey time to central London. Now, putting a station here is not that simple. If someone wanted to put a station here, and if it was safeguarded as part of the redevelopment, the track would need to be plain-lined. What that means is a section of track that contains no points, signals, or any other trackside equipment. But this is a very complicated series of tracks, as the entrances to the two remaining Older Common depots are here. So this is the approximate layout of the tracks in the area at the moment, with the purple lines being for the Elizabeth Line trains and lines in black for GWR and other trains. Note that this line in blue is a bridge that crosses the main line. To the north is the Elizabeth Line depot, and to the south is the North Pole depot. We certainly don't want to remove depot access for out-of-service trains. The only option that at least I can see fit, is integrating the depot tracks with the main tracks the Elizabeth Line uses. With this arrangement, a large island platform can be built alongside the GWR trains. The platform would be connected to a new bridge, which would be a part of the development, but primarily for public access between the north and the south, at least if the southern part of the railway line is redeveloped as well. If that is not feasible, both the platform and the pedestrian bridge can be independent of each other, but that would require an additional slewing of the existing lines to provide a good offset for a central support structure of the bridge. Now, assuming that this station will be built, what will it be called? Despite the title of the video saying Ladbroke Grove, we certainly cannot call it Ladbroke Grove, as we don't want to create confusion with the nearby tube station. The names Kensal Canalside or Kensal Portobello are fine, but what I take issue with is that it will add up the confusion even more with the other two Kensal stations, those being Kensal Green and Kensal Rise, despite the naming convention being consistent. North Kensington is also a name I have seen suggested, and in my opinion, kind of works. This is because the station would be located in the northernmost area of the borough of Kensington and Chelsea, which makes sense, and would be similar to how North Greenwich on the Jubilee line is named. Not all Elizabeth Line services would need to stop here as well. So these are the routes of the Elizabeth Line west of Paddington. There is an all-station service to Heathrow Terminal 4, running 4 trains an hour, a semi-fast service to Heathrow Terminal 5, calling at Ealing Broadway, West Ealing and Hayes and Harlington, running 2 trains an hour, 4 trains an hour to Maidenhead, calling at Ealing Broadway, Southall, Hayes and Harlington and on to Maidenhead, with alternate stopping patterns and 2 trains an hour continuing to Reading. There are also 6 trains an hour which terminate at Paddington from Shenfield. So already the new station would be served by Terminal 4 services every 15 minutes. But with the upcoming service increase to the line as a result of additional trains being ordered and to serve the HS2 project at Alder Common, the 6 trains an hour which currently terminate at Paddington would be extended to Alder Common, so it's possible that they could stop here as well, providing 10 trains an hour to the new station, but this could change in later plans for the line. Currently, the station remains unfunded, and despite the Kensal Canalside development being approved, I'm not too sure if its railway station will follow anytime soon. But the gap between railway stations in this area I think is large enough to support the regeneration happening in the first place, and would allow for a decent modal shift. If a station is seriously considered in these plans for regeneration, it would be so beneficial for the areas surrounding the development as well, but it would have to go through years of planning work, so I doubt a station here would be certain. Anyways, I think that's pretty much it. I think missing stations is certainly a really fun topic for me to research, and I'll probably continue this series going. Anyways, if you did enjoy this video, remember to like and subscribe to the channel for more content. And as always, I'll see you all next time.